Hello, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will showcase my journey developing a game without using a conventional game engine in C++. If you watched my channel introduction, you would know that I have experience developing games in a few languages such as Python, Lua, and Java. However, I have never touched C++, let alone C or C#, but I am 100% confident nothing will go wrong. To build my game, I'm using the game framework Raylib. The reason I chose Raylib is because I won't have to worry about abstraction details like how to render textures, and my purpose is to have the experience of actually learning C++ and enjoying the process. I've completed a class project in Java that has a similar structure to Raylib. We were given a small library and a game initializer, and from there had to do things such as randomly generating our own 2D worlds, using seeds, saving the game, and allowing our character to move, and more. With that being said, let's get into the project. The first thing I have to do is connect C++ to Raylib. No big deal. All I have to do is load up VS Code, import the Raylib libraries into the project, create a makefile to build and manage the project automatically, write a short main method to display a window and draw a white background to it, and voila. After 10 excruciating hours of debugging, we have finally opened the window. Next, I downloaded an asset pack called Spaceship Shooter Environment by Ansimuz. The link will be in the description. Because this project is purely dedicated to learning C++, I didn't want to show off my amazing artistic skills. Anyways, this asset pack came with a few things, including a background and a ship sprite. From there, I wanted to display the background on screen. After a few failed attempts, I was able to render the background to the window. However, it did not cover the entire screen. After a while, I was able to have the background cover the entire window, and I also made the window resizable, changing the size of the background with it. After completing that and staring at my basic window with the river on it for a while, I realized I didn't actually have a plan for the game, so that's what I decided to do next. After brainstorming some game ideas, I came up with a simple Space Invaders styled game. Essentially, the player has to destroy enemies in waves using lasers and avoiding attacks to attempt and beat their high score. Since I figured out how to draw the background image, drawing the ship to the screen wasn't too much more difficult. However, the ship sprite sheet allowed for different frames so I can animate the player. This took some trial and error, but eventually I got the hang of it. I then set out to create a simple player controller to let the player control their ship and fly around. I spent around 3 days trying to get the ship orientation and rotation right because I wanted the player to move forwards and backwards depending on the orientation of the ship. This took a lot of math and changing positions using pi, cosine, and sine. This movement was a better option in my opinion than only allowing for 90-degree turns, especially for aiming lasers at enemies. Next, I moved on to implementing shooting mechanics. I made sure that the laser shot started at the position of the player and also faced the same rotation of the player when they shot it. It was also difficult making sure the lasers continued moving in the direction it was shot, which took a lot of math using sine and cosine. I also DQ'd the laser from the game after its position was outside of the frame to minimize memory usage. I drew some test enemies on the screen in order to make a collision system. At first I was freaking out on how to detect the collisions of textures and scoured the internet to look at different examples, but luckily Raylib actually has a collision detection system built into it, which saved a lot of time. After detecting a collision, I made an explosion animation begin from the position of the enemy the laser collided with. With movement, shooting, and collisions done, The only thing left would be the bot AI logic and wave system. Before implementing that, I wanted to make a main menu scene for the game, which meant I had to learn the process of making pixel art. To make the pixel art, I used a free version of Sprite, Sprite. Overall, it was a very easy application to use with basic UI and all the essential tools you would need. Although art is nowhere near my favorite part of game design, I appreciated the process of creating something visually for players to use. In the end, the buttons used on the main menu came out decent, and I coded them to detect clicking, hovering, and centered them as well. And the only thing left was to make the bot logic and wave system. What I ended up doing was generating random waypoints on the screen at the beginning of each wave. The enemies would then randomly spawn somewhere off screen and move towards the waypoints in a random order. I completely randomized the waypoint locations, the bot spawn location, and bot waypoint order in order for players to feel like they are playing a new game each time. This also increased unpredictability of the bot's next move. In order for the enemies to fight back, I made them always rotate towards the location of the player depending on their bot's relative location, which took the most calculations out of all. The enemies also shoot at their 1 second cooldowns, so the player has to continuously stay on the move, making aiming at the enemies more difficult. With that done, the entire core game loop is finished and playable. Overall, I really enjoyed completing this project and the process of coding a game at such a low level. Although I didn't show all my mistakes and bugs, as time progressed I became more and more comfortable with C++ and OpenGL, which Raylib is based on. Additionally, the creator of Raylib has a Discord you can join to get any questions you have answered by him or his mods, and they have a pretty supportive community. This project took overall around 3 weeks to finish, and I am very proud of my creation. Going into the project, I was nervous about doing something like this without an engine, and if you're in a similar situation, my advice would be to just go for it. Don't be afraid to learn something new, and you might enjoy the process as well. I've released the game on itch.io for Mac and Windows if you'd like to try it out, and I've also open sourced the code on GitHub if you're interested. Both of these links will be in the description. If you have any deeper questions about my development process, feel free to comment down below or join my Discord in the description. With that being said, thank you for watching and see you in my next adventure.